I was at the Scotland Germany game in the Euros, and I can vouch first-hand accounts of people giving out about John McGinn.
Really?
Yeah.
Leon Bailey used to get somewhere to stick for that. And the difference now, he had a great year, and he's shit again this year, but he got so much credit in the bank now that it's like, well, he must be injured.
Righty. I think we're good to go. 1 2 1 2. How's that? I feel a bit low today in my. Is that just me? Hello. Oh, I couldn't get closer. It'd actually be gross for everyone. How does this not have a stand on it? One of the great design flaws. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. I think we are happy, yes. Hello everybody, some bits and bobs is skulking around your feed once again. We will be doing rugby with Rory O'Connor and Ian Madigan tomorrow. Thursday we will have the Friday panel most likely coming your way as well. So we figured, you know what, one more chewing of the fat, one more gathering of great minds. Conan is here, hello.
Hi Joe.
And Ronan, hello.
Hi Joe.
Who are the great minds of the three of us?
That's a good question.
The question.
Where are the great minds? They weren't around.
We got a punchy run in order to get through here. Some good stuff going on, interesting things. Johnny Sexton, part of the Ireland coaching ticket, seems to be in the offing. John Temple, owner of Dundalk, has given a very interesting interview to the local press. We'll play that. LeBron James and son, NBA history. Portmarnock is now pretty much nailed on for the Open, and more besides. Email in very quickly. Indosportpodcast@independent.ie is where to send your emails. John in Cork has done so. Makes another interesting point. We're not going to dwell overly on the Gaelic football rules situation, but I think there's something in this. Hello, Joan Coe. Real quick one on the new scoring system being put forward at the moment in Gaelic football. Where does this leave us in terms of the all-time championship scoring records? I don't think current all-time top championship scorer Cillian O'Connor will be best pleased if the new scoring record's introduced. Just one more reason as to why I don't think it should be introduced at all. For what it's worth, I'm on board with the rest of the enhancements.
That's great.
That's the correct terminology. The rule enhancements is Jim Gavin would approve. It's not an unreasonable point, you know, and I suppose it ties into that larger worry or sadness, actually. It's a sadness, I feel, that when we do this, the departure with the history of the game will be a real thing. This will be akin to Premier League 1992 line in the sand in terms of how we talk about the game, the achievements in the game, the records, the feel of it. Very, very soon, the kids will be saying, Colin Cooper, oh, yeah. He was the olden rules, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That Dublin team of the 20... Oh, that was the olden rules, wasn't it? Yeah. A bit like now when Leaving Cert results are announced and someone says, what did you get in your Leaving Cert? And you say, it's not really comparable. I was one of the olden Leaving Cert types. It's not the issue, but it's something that we should all be cognizant of, I think, that when these rules come in, if they come in, it is a line in the sand with the game.
Raoul only scored one goal every 2 games. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, the records change as it goes along. Conor McManus is playing against a blanket defence his whole career is another thing that the record books won't show.
True.
I really love John's point there because there should be something in that. There's like, as much as we're changing the rules, surely we're trying to change them to just enhance how the game is played so that in 10-15 years it doesn't really matter what the rule is of the game, we're all just playing a more open brand of football. But the scoring system is such a interesting one, led by Dubliner Jim Gavin to overthrow Mayo man Cillian O'Connor's record. I mean, is there something in that? Let's start a conspiracy.
Yeah, I think for starters, if this incentivises the GA at large to get better at keeping record of stats, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Really,
We start now.
really, really bad. Like, it's impossible. Like in any other sport, you can look up player X and they'll tell you their scoring from each season, that kind of thing. Seems like Conan would know better than me, but it seems like an impossibility anytime I try to do that. Of late, there's like dedicated people in different counties who do it. But it's like, I don't know if it's all that relevant, like the changing in records, because like you take basketball for example, which is the comparison of the day with the 3-point line. Like Will Chamberlain he scored 100 points in a game 17 years before the 3-point arc came in. You know, and you don't see 3-pointers making 100-point games a regular occurrence. You know, single players aren't doing that. The ball's spread around a lot more. So I think we'll just make our peace with it. If it's a better product, then
Okay, worth the price.
yeah.
So in the world of rugby, Rory O'Connor and Cian Tracy reporting that Kieran Frawley is going to be included in the Irish squad, which is announced tomorrow. We'll obviously talk in more depth on Thursday's podcast. Peter O'Mahony is a major doubt. If he's out, Caelan Doris will be captain. He captained Ireland in that second test against South Africa. And then Jerry Thornley had the interesting story. Johnny Sexton has been approached by Irish management to assume a part-time mentoring role with the Irish out-halves. No agreement has been finalised yet. The expectation, though, is that Sexton will have small input during the Six Nations and possibly even forthcoming November internationals. Sexton will not be co-opted onto the Irish coaching ticket, and he's not expected to assume a coaching role per se. If it does come to pass, it's envisaged that Sexton will have a relatively restricted input in a kicking and advisory role to the Irish out-halves in the squad, who are, as Jerry says, relatively inexperienced. I knew he'd be back. I mean, I thought it would last more than 5 minutes, but I just can't keep away this man from rugby. So Andy Farrell has clearly said, this makes a lot of sense, Johnny. Come on in, let's school them in your ways. Kicking, I suspect general play will come into it too. So, in effect, Johnny Sexton as your out-half coach. And beyond that, that's a face. Oh, that face.
I don't know. Would a clean break not be better for the new incumbents?
Go on.
I don't know. Like, number one, my primary point would be, I always thought if Johnny Sexton was going to do something, he'd be doing it full on. Like, he wouldn't be taking a part-time, like, flitting in and out role.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. And then, yeah, I just wonder, like, you know, it's their era now. You know, I think, what can he lend them that they don't already know? And just his presence in the camp, even as a non-playing part of the setup, I don't know, it's probably a distraction they could do without when they're trying to cement their place. They're already competing with each other without having to have the aura of, and the significant aura of, the arguably the greatest Irish rugby player ever. You know, he's a constant comparison anyway. If he's standing right beside them, even more so.
Interesting.
Alex Ferguson looking down over David Moyes as he's on the sideline. And there is an element, like, Sexton's not long out of playing, you know.
Tom Brady time. Like,
if the guys aren't performing well, you're here anyway. You've got your boots. Everybody's saying the same thing. Part of me doesn't mind it. Obviously, it's so much expertise. He's one of the greatest players of all time, sportsmen for Ireland. So why would you not have some sort of use for him? Is there an element of, every time I hear past players talk about Johnny Sexton, it's how how mad he is on the training pitch and on how he, like,
yeah.
Is that a nice environment that you'd be welcoming back in?
And how is he going to accept a role where he's not paw prints over everything? He's so detail driven, is he not?
Yeah, I think we have to give him a lot more credit. I think the caricature has gone a bit far on Johnny, the way we all talk about him.
Yeah.
And he has softened massively in the last number of years because he had to. I mean, he details it in the book, that's fresh of mind. But other players have said as much as well. Yeah. That when it became apparent to him when they would do personality tests and he was the only red colour in the entire dressing room, he realised his mode of leadership, which was, you know, child of the 90s, Manchester United fan, Alex Ferguson, Roy Keane, that's leadership. He would say himself that was his image of leadership. So he's softened on all of that dramatically. He is incredibly popular with the camp because he's great crack as well. And I think he has developed a real understanding as to how he talks to younger players. You know, Leo Cullen, Stuart Lancaster sat him down and said, you have to understand, James Ryan was a wide-eyed 12-year-old in the crowd when you were beating Northampton in the Heineken Cup final. Therefore, when you go hard on him, it's a big deal. And I think he's kind of cognizant of all those things now. So when you say what can he pass on to them, the out-halves that is, I would say infinite knowledge. Infinite knowledge when it comes to game management and the myriad decisions you have to make in a game depending on the time on the clock and on the scoreboard. Running lines, you know, there are times where Crowley takes the ball in a static position, I think. Sexton will iron that out. How are your hips facing? Some of the stuff that the likes of Gaffney and Knox passed on to him, that thread runs through Leinster rugby now in a big way. Kicking, I mean, I know if I was struggling with my kicking, would I like Johnny Sexton there? And again, people he'll be on the big screen like O'Gara was for him. He'll be a looming, brooding presence, and I've missed a kick, and Johnny's looking at me as if to say, I could still do better than that. I think we have to give Sexton a lot more credit. He'll be living and dying by these guys doing well. He'll want them to do well. And so who would I turn to if I was having an issue? Johnny, I don't know what's happening. Have you got a quick fix here? I'm pulling it left all day. Yeah, I do actually. I can see exactly what you're doing, precisely what you're doing. So I think actually, and then in terms of culture and standards, like a phenomenon. So I actually can't see a downside. In fact, I would say if Jack Crowley or Kieran Frawley or Prendergast or any of the pretenders to the throne, if they are distracted or upset or thrown by the presence of Johnny Sexton trying to help them just because he was a big deal, then frankly, they're not going to cut it in that jersey anyway. The overall pressure is going to be too much for them anyway. This is nothing but a help, nothing but a resource. And the notion that Johnny's going to be bowling them out of it is an outdated.
No, it's not even that. And I want to emphasise.
I won't have you attack him.
It's no reflection. It's well.
I feel bad because I brought that up.
It's well chronicled. He's like one of my favourite Irish sports people. I love Johnny Sexton. It's actually no reflection on him. It's just the enterprise that we work in here. It's a ready-made narrative.
He mightn't be at the games, to be fair, if you're worried about the big screen.
Yeah, but the comparisons are. I think
comparisons won't go away.
But I think it's. Is it not more the point that I'm making that what is like? You're saying it's almost like a part-time role. So how readily available is he going to be for those conversations? I mean, he's either in or he's not.
They might need day-to-day coaching as such, and obviously international management by the obvious calendar is kind of part-time anyway. Like, I'd say it's the kind of thing where Sexton's watching all of these games anyway, and so every 2-3 months then he sits down, chats with them, here's what I'm seeing. If they have questions, pick up the phone. I know for a fact lots of rugby players currently playing still pick up the phone to Sexton, look for advice on things because his IQ is off the charts. So part-time, I mean, to be fair, like it's a breaking news story. We don't have the details yet. It may be that Johnny comes in one day a week across the Six Nations campaign and chats with the out-halves, and that's plenty. Maybe actually it's a good thing. They don't need him every day in minuscule detail hovering over them.
And also Paul O'Connell did something similar when he retired, and then he ultimately became a fundamental part of the camp. So that might be the future for Johnny Sexton. It is interesting that last week he was like, yeah, I've had approaches from IRFU and Leinster, I'll think it over, and then a week later he's thought it over.
He's such a phenomenal relationship with Farrell. I suspect Farrell just rang him and convinced him. But Farrell has worked hard on Sexton and how he works with other people. Like there's a great story, that he was trying to communicate a move and one player couldn't get it, and Sexton's, this is a couple of years ago, kind of lost the rag a touch, and Farrell kind of called him over and said, what's up with you? He said, well, you can't get it. And Farrell said, well, then you didn't explain it properly. And Sexton's a little bit, okay. And so like that's been happening in the background over the last couple of years. So I'd be absolutely welcoming that. And you know what? That little bit of old school standards, I don't think the game should lose that. I don't think sport should lose that. I think O'Connell and Sexton, that intensity, that's no harm having around the place. I don't know what you two are talking about, is what I'm saying.
It's such an interesting conundrum, that, and it's sport-wide, the driving the standards, because there is a fine line between driving the standards and you want to keep people to task and uphold those standards, but it can spill over to the other side then, where it's toxic and it affects people and it cripples confidence. And even just, obviously GA is more my bag, when county players come back to club trainings across the country as well, how some people get it right, they're able to drive the standards, they're able to lift things a little bit, but other people, like, he's not doing the move properly, we need to do this, we need to nail this. But yeah, maybe there's other ways to go about it.
So if you're 10, if you're Frawley, if you're Crowley, me personally, I love this development. I'll be ringing him every day. Ronan, I'm sensing you think it could be an unhelpful presence.
I don't know. I just feel like if it was me and I was in the camp, I'd be like, okay, Johnny had, I'm never going to be Johnny Sexton. I'm sure in their quiet moments they could admit it'd be an unbelievable achievement if they can surpass him. But like, this is my time now, and they have to compete with each other, as I said. That's enough to contend with. And maybe their personality types are different and they want to carve out their own niches and their own lanes and they don't want advice. I don't know them well enough to make that assumption, but I just think it's not as much of a slam dunk as people might frame it. As you said, it's a breaking news story, so we'll see how it develops.
Yeah. Again, this could be meeting them for coffee outside of working hours, or this could be in a tracksuit once a week at the high performance unit. We don't quite know the details yet, but it's very interesting. And Farrell's obviously got a good instinct for what the team needs and felt Johnny was just what they needed. So we touched on this on Monday's podcast with Dan McDonald. We played the audio of the fracas breaking out at Oriel Park on Friday night. This was between. I legally just don't want to name specific people here, but I guess you could say John Temple is the new owner now of Dundalk, local barrister, and Andy Connolly had been the previous owner before Brian Anscough. He had sold to Brian Anscough, and that regime over the last 10 months did not work out well for Dundalk, obviously. So some kind of argument spilled out from a box of some sort, or the pub of some sort in the stand, out into the stands where Dan was talking to Rory Higgins, and he recorded it. We played that audio on Monday's podcast, and it was all very, very ugly. So John Temple, current owner, not happy about the situation. He has instigated bans to, we think, 7 people following the fracas. And John Temple has subsequently spoken to the press box, to James Rogers, local journalist. It's a lengthy interview, by the way. He covers all sorts of things. I mean, he's talking about the Dundalk financial situation. And he says at one point, to put it in lay language, it's a shit show. That's the reality. But here's a clip of John Temple talking about what happened on Friday night.
I was punched in the back. But I was also, my mother, who was in her 70s, was present at the game. That same person punched and pushed my mother. My sister was hit in the face, and I witnessed my own sister being hit in the face by an individual. I was approached by off-duty Gardaí who advised me to leave the premises immediately. I was trying to ring the guards from the stand, and there was a shouting exchange going on. That I was going to get, if I didn't shut my mouth, I was going to get into a lot of trouble. I can put it on this, that those people will never gain entry into Oriel Park or into a football game at Dundalk at Oriel Park, that they are now barred and they will be removed and arrested on site should they now come up to Oriel Park ever again. That I can tell you. I was the one who picked up the gauntlet on the 17th of September, when I could have easily walked away and continued on my ordinary job as a barrister. I'm not in it for money. I certainly haven't got money out of it. All I've been doing is pumping money into it. What went on Friday night was no excuse. And for people just to go in and just hot-headed of whatever they want.
So that's a sense of John Temple. Tricky in terms of what we can say, because you'd have to agree the allegations certainly are of criminal nature, really. So we'll just have to let that side of things play out, but there's a real seriousness to the situation when you hear him describe it. You're a Dundalk supporter. It's kind of staggering the extent to which this whole thing has unravelled.
Yeah, it was a grave enough day as it was. Like, even beyond that, you see Rory Higgins, once of that parish, like Derry steaming through, with their progression, and meanwhile Dundalk are falling out of the league, and he would have been a big part of the rise under Stephen Kenny. So just juxtaposing that alone was kind of grim. And then this developed over the subsequent hours and days. It's just hard to believe. Like, I don't want to go over old ground with how it's come to this, like with the amount of money that was generated during those heady European days, and there's plenty of reasons why it hasn't been come to the surface, not least the fact that no refurbishment in Oriel Park, given those age-old issues with like ownership of the land, and they can't just be freewheeling. Like, in an ideal world, you would just put all of that into the stadium and it becomes a source of revenue in and of itself, but like that wasn't an option. You could barely see a new lick of paint in Oriel Park since those days. It's kind of crazy. It's too broad a topic probably to distill in this forum, but to take the audio alone, like, again, he's right in what he's saying, that like the club was all but done had he not come in with that saving grace. There's no long-term commitment though, like in terms of his long-term standing with the club, where they'll be from Division 1 and going forward, and what the ownership setup will be. I think it's like a stay of execution, if anything. Yeah. So he's talking about bans for life. Like the extent to which he's going to be there for the foreseeable future remains to be seen, even. So, but as you said, it's actually not a footballing matter or an Oriel Park matter. It could be a criminal matter, the way he's described it there.
Portmarnock, we'll come to LeBron in a second, is set to make history. So it's pretty much nailed on now, I think, that Portmarnock Golf Club is going to be the first course outside of the UK to host the Open. This is on foot of the government yesterday to committing to financial backing, 35 to 40 million euro of public money, which will go into infrastructure outside of the gates of the club. I should emphasise it's not going into Portmarnock facilities. In effect, if you've played there or been around that neck of the woods, access is an issue. They're going to have to build a new road, most likely over water, because otherwise it'd just be very, very difficult. So I presume that's where a chunk of the money is going to go. And so Golf Ireland released a statement, and I don't suspect they're doing it, on a whim. And they talked about momentous development and talked with great confidence about this happening. So the word seems to be, based on all the reporting, you can see James Corrigan in the paper today, the Independent today. The plan is for the Women's Open to go to Portmarnock in 2029, and then within 5 years of that, 2034 being the latest, the Open Championship will be at Portmarnock. So it's really amazing. It's going to be a phenomenal couple of weeks when that comes into play. I've been to a couple of Opens. They're amazing events, whether golf fan or no. Obviously, it's more helpful if you're a golf fan. But the atmosphere around the course in the town for that week is really, really lovely. And height the summer and the best players in the world, and you kind of this sense of one of the big sporting events of the world that weekend is happening, and eyes are on it all around the world. And I was just doing the maths there. Rory McIlroy will be, in 2034, 45 years old. The major drought will have hit year 20. And what a story it will be when, Phil Mickelson style, he gets one last shot at glory and wins the Open in Dublin.
He surges on Sunday of day 4 and just falls just short again, and we're all on Twitter documenting the rise and fall of it.
Do you think Twitter's around in 10 years, do you think?
Hope so.
You hope so?
I hope so, Joe.
You're the first person who's said something positive about Twitter.
I love Twitter. Like, if you're using the right way, like, it just...
Arguing with people.
Or looking at people arguing with each other. It's mostly about football. It's all innocent, the stuff that I'm following. So it's... I don't want to derail the discussion here. I think it's a great advertisement for that part of the world as well, because I was just thinking about Fingal. It's like, it's almost not given as much love because it's part of Dublin. And when you're going to Dublin from outside of Dublin, you're going into Dublin. And it's like, if this was its own county, I feel like people would be just drawn towards it a lot more. The seaside, I mean, once like the world, I suppose, comes down on Portmarnock, and they're going to get to see that part of the world. And
it's beautiful.
That whole coastline, the whole way up Malahide, Rush, Skerries, is gorgeous, and the towns are so distinct. And
by the way, the number of golf courses in that neck of the woods is off the charts. It's not really talked about North Dublin as this kind of golfing haven, but you start going through them, and it just goes on and on and on. I mean, even to have Jameson Links, formerly Portmarnock Links, right beside Portmarnock, the most beautiful beach along the way, is amazing. You're looking across the water and you're seeing Sutton Golf Club. I mean, it's and right the way through beyond further up the north coastline, just amazing golf courses. So this is going to be great. In Portmarnock, so obviously they had to change the rule about female membership to pave the way. Have it on good authority that if you're a member, your wife can play for the princely sum of... Would you care to guess how much it is if you were a member of Portmarnock for your wife to play a round of golf with you?
Oh.
Now be reasonable.
One round of golf?
One round of golf with Conan Doherty.
People would pay a fortune.
Yeah, that's a different question.
45 quid.
Ronan, care to guess how much?
I don't even know what the going rate is.
Oh, it'd be several hundred. Like if you're a rich American coming in. I don't even know. Can you get out there? I don't even know. Look, it's not cheap. But what would it be for your wife to play with you if you're a member?
70.
It will cost you €1.
Oh.
Okay. So did I ruin it for you then by guessing far too high?
No. You proved the point. It's amazing it's so cheap.
That's really good.
Yeah. And to bring your parents out, it's tenner.
That's okay.
It's very it's a lovely aspect, obviously.
I thought it was going to be it's 1,200 quid to do that.
No.
Can I ask an uneducated question and we can cut this out?
Well, it's a podcast. I think that's the majority of questions.
I'm actually not trying to be deliberately inflammatory or Little Ireland or anything like that. But is there any unease that will need to be confronted with an Irish golf course hosting the British Open as a cultural thing?
Go on.
No, I'm just wondering. Like, Ireland's not in Britain.
Yeah.
And why is an Ireland golf course hosting the British Open?
See, I guess technically they don't call it the British Open anymore. It's just the Open Championship. There's nothing to say.
But it is the British Open, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is, I guess. But there's nothing to say, like in a different landscape or time or world, Australia couldn't host the Open Championship if the RNA dictated such. Obviously, Australian links with the UK it's still Commonwealth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Prince Charles and Camilla are flying down there, aren't they? Well, I think they flew down there recently and nobody would meet them. Australia has kind of decided, right, enough is enough of this. So someone from Australia will confirm that or not. I'm 99% sure that.
Yeah, so I'm absolutely not. I don't want to make a story out of something that's a non-story.
No, I think it's a fair
kind of
question.
interesting, like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's no delineation made there that it's the British and Irish Open or anything. Because I know my friend's a big golf fan. He's like, it's not. He actually hates me calling it the British Open. He's like, it's the Open, but it is the British Open, though.
No, it is the British Open. And I think people who get too uppity about casually calling it the British Open to differentiate from the US Open, those people need to just, stop being a bit silly. It is the British Open. Obviously, it's very much branded as the Open Championship. It's the oldest championship. We were here first. It's just the Open. But of course, it is the British Open. So what do you mean? Like the implication is, God, we're still basically a colony?
I think it's weird that a golf course that's not in Britain is hosting the British Open, and
We're always given out when an Irish person is called British, just on a Sky Sports graphic or something like that. Is
Now-
this an extension of that?
Welcome to Dublin for the British Open.
Yeah.
yeah. Do you not think it's weird? No.
No, I get it.
Did you not think about like?
I did.
But did it occur to you?
Yes.
Yeah, because I haven't seen anyone mention it. I just thought, am I the only one who's like?
Yeah. Do you even care?
I
Jim?
feel like
Oh, no. I live 10 minutes from the course. It's great. No, I did. Obviously, Portrush made sense because it's in Northern Ireland.
Careful.
UK. Oh, sorry. It's always tricky when you have to talk about the North, but then an actual person from the North's here. You have to watch what you say.
How do Wales feel about this? Because Wales haven't hosted a British Open, have they? And now someone outside of Britain's
Yeah,
getting
they've had the Senior Open quite a bit, Wales. Yeah, I don't know, Ronan. I understand your point. It's
no. Listen,
striking.
maybe it's a conversation that has been had and I missed it. And
No, you
maybe,
didn't.
And it's also not a major thing at all. Like,
So are you saying-
we're all adults here. It's 2024.
But it is a major. That's the problem. This is one of the four.
Are you saying we should turn it down?
No, I just feel like it should be a consideration. You know?
But what do you consider, I suppose?
Let's just say, all right, take this as an example. England's hosting the World Cup. England is hosting the World Cup.
England,
And
yeah.
Lansdowne Road gets a game.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. No?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really have a great answer. I don't really know why they're giving it to us. I don't get it fully. Maybe that'll be all teased out.
You don't want to kick up a fuss.
I'm like, shush.
No, it's also a good olive branch at least. It's one of our best sports, and it's great that we'd be on the world stage. So
Could you sort of argue tenuously, this is real, I'm grappling here, that obviously Northern Ireland is...
Go on, don't pour sugar on it. Go
Okay, Northern Ireland is very much, Great Britain, Northern Ireland. It's a thing. Yeah. And so golf in Ireland is a 32 county
that's true.
entity. And therefore, 6 counties of Ireland's golfing heritage are not in this country, but have links to Great Britain and Ireland, and
so
therefore,
sorry, I'm here for this.
almost like by going to Portrush, that then invites in the 32 counties. Is there some kind of line there that golf can navigate down to Dublin?
Yeah, and look, when Shane Lowry
I wouldn't say that was the most coherent point of it.
look,
And there's a big Irish community in New York then as well, in Boston. So should that count as the Open?
when Shane Lowry won the Open, it was very much he won it on home soil. So
That's true.
We've had this conversation.
That's true.
Just a different prism.
Look, I think we'd all agree Portrush is different to Dublin.
Oh, yeah. Shane Lowry did win it on home soil.
Yeah, but
No, but he didn't win it in you know what I mean.
yeah,
No, I don't know.
it is odd. I don't
He
really
didn't win it in Offaly or Burr or wherever he's
Yeah,
from.
I don't know why they're giving it to us, but at this stage, listen, quite happy for Portmarnock to host the Open every decade, which would be a nice thing.
Me too.
Yes, LeBron James is 39 years of age. He is at the Lakers, has signed a 2-year extension, largely because his son, Bronny or Bronny?
Bronny.
I keep asking this question. Bronny, Bronny. Bronny's 20, and LeBron instigated all sorts of chicanery and told other franchises, don't you dare try and sign my son out of college. He's coming to the Lakers. And it seems his power is such that everybody acquiesced. And so Bronny has rocked up at the Lakers. And they had their season opener against Minnesota Timberwolves. The names. Timberwolves. I didn't really know. I actually Googled Timberwolf to see if it's a species of wolf. It's not. Minnesota Timberwolves. So is that like it's a combination of wolves being native to the landscape and timber, lots of trees in Minnesota? Is that what that is?
You got it.
Okay. I feel between trying to justify Portmarnock and now Timberwolves, I'm having a bad podcast. So the Lakers won by 7. 4 minutes before half-time, history was made in that the first ever father and son partnership on an NBA court happened. We have the audio here. So they came on together. It wasn't that LeBron was already on and Bronny was beckoned. They were waiting to come on together. It's like, it's the moment. It has all the pageantry. Like, again, it's so thought out that watching courtside were Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr., who had done the same in Major League Baseball in the 90s. They're courtside, you know what I mean? So America does this kind of thing very, very well. So we have some audio and you'll hear LeBron giving Bronny some last minute words of wisdom before away they go.
All ready? All right. You see the intensity, right? Just play carefree, though. Don't worry about mistakes. Just go out and play hard.
History tonight. The first father-son duo to play together in an NBA game. This is all in the family. And what a celebration for the James family. Bronny's brother and sister, his mom on hand.
Bronny, you were locked in all week, and you said you would soak in the moment after the game. What will you remember most about tonight?
Just going up to that sports table with my dad, checking in for the first time. That's a crazy moment I will never forget.
As you checked in and you realized this lifelong dream, what did you realize about accomplishing that?
I mean, I'm just extremely grateful for everything. I was given an amazing opportunity to come in this league and get better every day and learn every day. So I'm just extremely grateful.
Huge smile across your face. You have accomplished many milestones. You have made history countless times. Why is this feat so special?
It's family. It's always been family over everything. And, for me, I lost a lot of time because of this league and committing to this league, being on the road at times, missing a lot of his things, Bryce's things, Zuri's things. So to be able to have this moment where I'm working still and I can work alongside my son, it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever got from the man above, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
There we go. Heartfelt moments. Bronny sounds older than LeBron is one takeaway. Sounds like he's LeBron's dad. I'm not sure about that advice, by the way, as you're about to come on. You see the intensity, right, in very warning terms. But play carefree.
Yeah.
If Johnny Sexton's pulling that with Kieran Frawley, then I got problems.
I like it. Don't worry about mistakes. Just play hard. I love that.
See the intensity, though. Be nervous.
But just be alert. That's what you'd expect. Any father and son Animal Kingdom advice to be discharged.
It's like that line in Ted Lasso, keep calm and get fired up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's fascinating, isn't it? Like I was just chatting to Shane outside. LeBron James has manoeuvred this so deftly, over a long time, and it'd be different if he was doing it on a no-mark franchise, for example, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and but he's using the most famous franchise in American sports as his own personal plaything and family crash.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers getting gypped because he didn't want the manager. He was asked, by the way, so what's the situation or the vibe at home? And reassuringly, it's just like any father and 20-year-old son in that he says, yeah, he pretty much just stays in his room playing video games and I'm downstairs with my wife watching TV. So we don't talk that much at home. Yeah. But obviously, what an amazing thing to do with your son. Obviously, it's ridiculous. LeBron going to play for 2 more years. How's he doing? Is he looking okay?
Pretty good, yeah. He was in I hope you've seen some of the Dream Team over the summer in the Olympics.
I missed a lot of it,
It's phenomenal. He was brilliant, considering he's playing with the best players in the world and he was still shining. It's unbelievable, really. But no, it's a fascinating season. JJ Redick is the coach. I think widely considered maybe the best sports analyst in America for the last couple of years, and has gone straight from that podcasting sphere into the head coach position again of one of the most famous franchises in the world. He had actually co-hosted a podcast with LeBron James for a few months
before he was coach.
Yeah, it was called Mind the Game, and it was very detail driven. It was class. But now, so it seems like LeBron kind of, in some ways, facilitated that as well.
Right, wow. And just the last one, what I have read about Bronny is that he absolutely is NBA standard and would have probably made it into the NBA, but maybe not necessarily the Lakers, and certainly not to this kind of interest. Is that about right? He's okay.
He wasn't a 5-star recruit. Like, he was never going to be in the first couple of picks in the draft, but certainly good enough to be picked in the draft. Be interesting. Like, he's to go back to the Johnny Sexton thing a little bit. Like, he's never going to aspire to be anything like his dad.
Yeah,
which is no shame in that. He's going to be. I think he's going to be a workable NBA player. So that'll be a great career for a lot of people.
It sure would. Fellas, we're out of time. We've rabbited on too much. That was bits and bobs for this week.